Hello, everybody. My name is Jessi LaMain, and I am happily serving as your worship associate today. Those kids are really fun, weren't they? Just very recently, my wife Donna and I took a big step in our traveling adventures, and we tried scuba diving. We're both obsessed with the ocean, and in general, spend a lot of time snorkeling and swimming. I'm also an amateur freediver. I've got a decent breath hold, and I can dive to about 40 feet without an air tank. But scuba diving, that felt like an exclusive club for the brave enough. So we talked about it. And we decided it was time. So we booked a trip. We called a friend who we met on the island where we just traveled. We knew from a previous trip that he was an instructor, and we felt safe. We also felt petrified. So, fast forward, here we are in the boat, heading out to the first dive spot, gripping onto every word being spoken as we were getting the short debrief on what to do, what not to do. And as I'm sitting on the edge of the boat with the tank strapped to my back, feeling the weight of all that equipment and wondering what the hell we really got ourselves into. The mask pressed tight against my face. The regulator, the mouthpiece that you breathe out of, felt really weird and strange in my mouth. Every breath out of it sounded really mechanical and weird to my ears. Every instinct in my body was telling me that humans are not meant to breathe underwater, that humans are not meant to get off a perfectly good boat and sink to the ocean floor on purpose. And my fear was doing a really good job at explaining why we should stay exactly where we were at and not fall backwards off of this boat. But we did it. I put my hand over my mask and my regulator, fell backwards, boom, I was in the water. We got our bearings and we gave the OK symbol and we began our descent. Slowly, we followed our dive guide downward a little bit at a time. The first few moments breathing through the regulator felt really forced and strange, and I wasn't sure where I was even at. But a few more breaths and I realized we were doing it. I could actually breathe, and we were actually doing it. But I will tell you, my fear did not disappear. It stayed with me as we descended. It stayed with me while I checked the gauges over and over and over. Stayed with me again while I wondered, did we make a mistake? But something else started happening too. My eyes adjusted to the underwater. I began to really see the underwater world that we were surrounded in. Tons of small schools of fish came to greet us. The coral rose up in bright, unexpected colors. Sunlight came through the water and it felt like beautiful long beams. The underwater world was quiet and at the same time radiantly alive. It felt like a gift from the universe, and they were giving us a show to welcome our arrival. It felt really weird to cry underneath my mask in the water. It was like pretty weird. I do realize now that if I had listened only to the fear, I never would have seen any of it. If I waited till I felt completely brave, I might still be sitting on the edge of that boat. And if I had waited for the fear to disappear, I never would have gone. Instead, I brought the fear with me. And because of that, I experienced something beautiful and wholly surprising. I think that life asks that of us more often than we expect.
Our second reading, is Fear Not by Anna Quindlen, who writes, "Here is my favorite biblical direction. Be not afraid. It's truly the secret of life. Fear is what stunts our growth, narrows our ambition, kills our dreams. So fear not. You are surely afraid of leaving what you know, of seeking what you want, of taking the wrong path, of failing the right one. But you can't allow any of that to warp your life. You must have the strength to say no to the wrong things and embrace the right ones, even if you are the only one who seems to know the difference, even if you find the difference hard to calculate. Acts of bravery don't always take place on battlefields. They can take place in your heart when you have the courage to honor your character, your intellect, your inclinations, and yes, your soul, by listening to its clean, clear voice of direction instead of following the muddled messages of a timid world. So carry your courage in an easily accessible place, the way you do your cell phone or your wallet. You may still falter or fail, but you will always know that you pushed hard and aimed high. Take a leap of faith, fear not. Courage is the ultimate career move. When my daughters were little, the differences in their personalities were pretty clear. Marcella was pretty fearless, not in any way that was dangerous, though she still had more confidence than I had sometimes in what her 4-year-old body could do. She liked tall slides, she liked jumping from things, while her older sister, Mika, didn't. Mika didn't like slides or heights. She had remedial jumping lessons, as we called them, when she was about 4.5 because she couldn't do a 2-footed jump. So her preschool teacher, Henry, taught her how. God bless Henry. I am also not a person who enjoys heights. It doesn't stop me from doing anything I want to do. I drive over bridges, I go up the Space Needle or the Empire State Building, but it means I don't want to jump off the high dive. So I tried to hold a balance with them. I said that they were both brave. If you're not scared of something at all, then it doesn't take bravery to do it. Being brave, I think, is being kind of scared and doing it anyway. And sometimes the bravest thing is to say, you know, I don't want to do that, even if all my friends are. That can be very brave. I am sure it had nothing to do with my parenting, but Mika eventually decided that she loved heights. She would climb 75 feet up the tree in our backyard, which made me way more nervous than it did her. She learned to love the scary rides at Oaks Park. And I learned that sometimes, even for me, it's okay just to decide, no, I don't want to jump off the cliff 10 feet into the water, even if everyone else in my family is. And that's okay too. I can swim by walking down to the lake just fine. I still get to swim. That's the important part. On Wednesday, I took part in a Zoom call for Unitarian Universalist ministers in the Pacific Northwest to talk about congregational safety and security. About 20 of us joined the call to talk about how to keep our congregations safe. But I have to say, we didn't really talk about what I expected we'd talk about, and that's okay. What would you expect to talk about in a Zoom call like that? Security? Shooters. Shooters, yes. Because in the same way that we tend to default to racial diversity when we talk about diversity, I think we tend to default to violence when we talk about safety. And that's a real thing for sure. There have been 246 attacks on houses of worship in the last 25 years in the United States, where at least one person was killed. That's real, and it's scary. There have been that many school shootings in the last 3.5 years. That's real, and for many of us, even scarier. I believe we need comprehensive gun control now, or really we needed it 30 years ago. That's another sermon. But to put it into perspective, about 40,000 people are killed in auto accidents every year in the United States. And most of us accept this risk. We wear our seatbelts, we don't drive drunk, we follow the rules of the road. We mitigate the risks we can. But for many of us, the alternatives aren't as easy and still come with their own risks, and so many of us choose to drive or ride in passenger cars. I had expected that this training would be mostly how to mitigate risk, how to lock doors and train ushers and greeters and communicate between parts of the building. But instead, we talked more about defining risk tolerance within a congregation and the risks that come with both action and inaction. Using slides from Side with Love, the justice arm of the Unitarian Universalist Association, they defined risk assessment as the process of identifying the range of potential risks inherent in a particular situation or action, evaluating the likelihood of these risks actually occurring, and thinking through what both immediate and ongoing consequences might be. They said that values-based risk discernment leads to faithful risk-taking. Faithful risk-taking is about incorporating care and strategy into our call to take action against injustice and to build a liberated world. Risk discernment is the process of reflecting on our values, accountability, and our position and power to determine if we are prepared to take on a risk in a grounded, resilient, and responsible way. We talked about the consequences not only of acting, but of not acting. Since we're sharing statistics, the one that feels the most important as we're assessing risk is that as of January 16th, 2026, there were 73,000 individuals being held in ICE detention centers in this country. 73,000. 53% of those folks have no criminal history at all, and most of the rest have misdemeanors or immigration offenses only. And so this is a big part of our risk assessment. We had questions like, where does your congregation fall on a spectrum of risk tolerance? And as a congregation, are you more apt to delay action until absolutely everyone is on board? Or to have leaders take action without consultation because issues are moving quickly and call for immediate responses? I felt like we were a solid 6 on that scale. The social justice team came to the board with a resolution, the congregational resolution that we recently passed. A congregational resolution supporting democracy by faithfully resisting authoritarianism. But they came not only with a plan to the board, but a plan for congregational input. The board blessed the idea. I preached on it. We had surveys available both online and in person. We had a talking session about it, taking different people's opinions into account. And in the end, of the people who voted on a 0 scale to a 5 scale of no, we shouldn't be doing this, to a 2 or 3, yeah, but I'm kind of nervous, to a 5, yes, let's take a stand. You know what the vote was? 4.85. And the valid concern of, I still want my church to be church, not just the Justice League, was addressed with a cover letter that says, passing this resolution doesn't change our minister or our board's obligation to follow our congregation's mission statement, which is to invite connection, inspire spiritual growth, and ignite action for justice. My job as your minister is to love you, and I do. But it's also to work with you to create a thriving religious community and a better world. You may have noticed that we've had a few new members lately. And those are just the people who joined. We have other new people who have been back and aren't ready to join yet. And I think that a lot of the reason that that is happening is because we are talking about what's going on in the world. We are equipping people to do something about it, whether that's giving them the strength to stand up for justice and compassion and love in the world, or giving them ways to connect with others who share their values, or giving you an hour a week to connect with beauty and the holy through our gorgeous music and silence and connection with others, knowing that you are not alone in this world. It takes all of that. It takes comforting the afflicted and also afflicting the comfortable. And it takes understanding that bravery is also about the risks of inaction as much as the risks of action. Jessi and Donna, can I make the assumption you were a little scared too? Okay. Jessi and Donna were both scared to go scuba diving. But if they hadn't, they wouldn't have seen the incredible things that you did. Deciding to be brave, whether that's the bravery of doing the thing or the bravery of not doing the thing, comes down to which choice we can live with. Sometimes staying married takes courage and is the right thing to do. Sometimes choosing to leave takes courage and is the right thing to do. One of the brave things that I did in my 20s was to move to New York City with my then girlfriend. My parents could not believe what I was doing. And it didn't work in some ways. The relationship ended. I couldn't live in a city that big in the long term. It was too many people in too small a space for me who grew up right here. But I am so glad I did it. I have this whole experience of art and culture and cool things that I saw and did. I stood this far away from Starry Night. Even though it didn't last forever, I have never regretted doing that. Anna Quindlen tells us acts of bravery don't always take place on battlefields. They can take place in your heart when you have the courage to honor your character, your intellect, your inclinations, and yes, your soul by listening to its clear, clean voice of direction instead of following the muddied messages of a timid world. We are justifiably concerned about what might happen if we take a public stand, if we are brave. But friends, the odds are so much on our side, and the risk of doing nothing feels so much greater to me than the likelihood of actual harm coming to us. If we do nothing, we've acquiesced to a world where our neighbors are stolen away and placed in modern-day concentration camps. We've acquiesced to a world where our trans siblings don't have accurate IDs anymore. To a world where our president bombs foreign countries with no accountability to Congress. When you installed me as your settled minister 10 years ago last month, my invitations had a quote on them attributed to the Talmud. Do not be daunted by the enormity of the world's grief. Do justly now. Love mercy now. Walk humbly now. You are not obligated to complete the work, but neither are you free to abandon it. There are so many ways to be brave, my friends. Like Boy Genius says, you can live a vibrant life and die a boring death. You don't have to jump off the cliff into the water or ride the scary rides. You don't even have to march if you don't want to. But sitting with our heads in the sand doesn't do anyone any favors. You are surely afraid of leaving what you know, of seeking what you want, of taking the wrong path or failing the right one, but you can't allow any of that to warp your life, Anna Quindlen says. Carry your courage in an easily accessible place. even if you're afraid, do the next right thing, or do the thing that's going to bring you joy. Figure out what that is for you. Figure out your own risk tolerance. Think about edging over half a notch, and then do what you can do. It is all we can ask of each other, and it matters. Blessed be, and amen.